Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Favorite Praise, a platform where we get to talk about all things policy, be it national, regional, global policies, and be it's from Africa, America, Europe, Asia, Australia. If it's a policy, be sure to know that we will talk about it in this place, and not only talk about it, but we're here to ask the deeper questions. We're here to ask the uncomfortable questions, which really we feel like every individual should be asking, or maybe we're here to probe you to think deeper and also ask those questions with us, because we believe policies are enacted and meant to be for the people. Hence, it's the people who have the right to ask the different questions, and they have the right to get the answers to the questions that they ask. And part of the questions that we ask on this platform is this policy really benefiting the people that it was enacted for? Is this policy really serving the people that it's meant to serve? Is its implementation and enactment, correlating to the purpose of why it was enacted? Is it saving the minority few or saving the majority? These are some of the questions that we get to ask on this platform. And if you're here for the first time, we welcome you. And please join us in our inner court, where we hand you over the scepter of leadership, and you get to ask all those different questions with us again and again. And well, today, without wasting much of our time, I want to maybe make a disclaimer to say that today's episode was really inspired by a special woman from the United States of America, who made a statement that provoked us to even think deeper, to say, wait a minute, are we really thinking in the right direction? Are these policies really for the people? Are these policies really benefiting the majority of the people? And if so, how? If not, what can be done better? If not, what do the people want? So this is a very special lady for us, from our own perspective. And maybe to just, put off some spice here and there, I'll just introduce her before introducing her name, introduce who she is. So this is an American politician who is a former intelligence officer. She's also a member of the Democratic Party. She also served as the U.S. representative for Virginia's 7th Congressional District, that is from the year 2019 to 2025. And she made history by being the first female governor in Virginia's history of governors. And this woman is none other than the current and serving 75th governor of Virginia, which is Abigail. So, a little backstory for those who may not maybe understand what's happening. So, Governor Abigail made a video in the past days, we can't say reacting, but maybe commenting on the president, which is President Donald Trump, state address, and commenting on a few things that were said on that address, and questioning really how Americans feel about the policies, and also questioning on the different aspect of the address. While the address had a lot of things, there's only one thing that we want to look at today, and this is the housing policy. So if you had maybe listened to the state address, you understand that the president spoke about the housing policy that is being enacted in the US and is currently going underway, and about different features of that policy, which part of it is that private investors are not going to be allowed to, buy a certain amount of housing lots, which is for maybe small families, so that it allows more people to be homeowners. So mostly it's to reduce mortgage prices, percentages, and also to have more people being able to afford homes. But then we have different kinds of views. Not that we refute it, we are not refuting anything. Like I said, this platform is majorly to ask questions and to really help people ask and think more about the policies and help them understand the policy at an everyday level so that they can ask these questions. And one of the questions that came to our mind was, okay, or maybe let's say amidst the problems that America or Americans are facing right now, is housing top two? That's one of the questions that we really had to ask ourselves, is really housing like the major problem that we can say, yeah, an average American is always thinking about housing. Today, if you stop one American, you ask them, what's the top 10 things on your mind? One of them will be housing. Or maybe if you stop 5 Americans, 5 of them, all of them will tell you that one of the things that they are worried about is housing. Is really housing like a major problem? When we talk about major problem, we're talking about, is this really like a critical problem that we really need to put all our heads into and focus majorly on? And why are we saying we have to ask this? Because we believe that policies should help people live a good life, for lack of a better word, a noble life. Let me put it like that, a noble life. That's what policies should do. They should help an average person live a noble life. And maybe whilst we're thinking on that, we could even go deeper to us, because we understand that policies are enacted mostly by politicians. And we want to understand that, is this political move more favorable to the suffering, unheard, and traumatized Americans? Or is peace an answer to these Americans? When we talk of peace, it then becomes a whole new topic and a whole new subject, because we understand that peace can be both positive and negative. But then in this focus, we want to focus on positive peace. Like, is this housing policy really compared to peace? Is this what an average American would want to have? To say, well, I'd rather have a house and have unrest. I'd rather have a house and not be sure or certain about my tomorrow. I'd rather have a house than worry about my safety. Like, is housing really a political move that is for the people, for an individual? Or it's a political move that is for the few minority, or it's to satisfy the political desires and powers of the few? I think these are one of the questions that we really ought to ask ourselves, and we really have to delve into and get to understand how then an average American feels like. And maybe still on that, we would want to understand that for this average American, what does peace look like? Because like we said, peace can both be negative and positive, but what does it look like? When we talk to them about peace, what comes into their mind? What is it that is inspired through them to say, well, this is peace. I'm at peace. What does peace look like to you? If we were to ask you, what does peace look like? What is the definition of peace for you? Not looking at like Merriam-Webster, or looking at a dictionary. What does peace look like to you? And, because of that, I'm also led to Governor Abigail's speech, after the state address, not really to affirm or maybe refute it, but what is the America everyone wants. What is the America in the eyes of an average person? What does USA look like for an average person now? Not tomorrow, not 10 years ago, not 10 years later, now. What does that look like? What does that feel like for an average person? And really, like we say that she inspired today's episodes, we also want to learn, like, are the views she shared far extreme, or maybe the reality of an ordinary American? Because she shared really starting with the history of America, why America was formed, the foundational principles of America in probably most of a summary. But we want to really understand, are those views that she shared the reality of an ordinary American? Or probably it's also a political move. These are the kind of questions that we want to ask ourselves, and we want you to ask yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the battle of the politicians, it's all about the people. The right holders, the beneficiary of the policies, the ones who build the nation. And maybe talking about building the nation, we want to ponder on this very important question, which is, who is an American now? Who can stand and say, I'm an American? What does that identity look like? What does that identity symbolize or feel like? To say, well, I am an American. What does that person look like? What does that person have to believe in? What does that person have to feel like? Or what does that person have to embody to say you are an American? Because when we answer this critical identity question, only then can we understand who is America. Because we believe that a nation is built by its people. And if the people cannot answer who they are, then the nation cannot also answer who it is. It has a ripple effect. The nation has a ripple effect on the people. The people have a ripple effect on the nation. So we really want to understand who is an American. And that American will then inform who is America. So, well, thank you for joining us today. Because of our time, I think we will have to end here. And, these are some of the heavy questions that we need to ask ourselves and answer. And those answers probably shed some light to some of the bigger questions. Well, bigger in quotes, because we believe that identity question is the biggest question of all questions. But well, like we said, our job is to hand you over the scepter of leadership so that you can ask these questions in your different platforms, in different ways. And from us to you, it's a blessed day. Thank you.